I want to ask you a very important question. Is your sales organization selling all of the homes that they could and therefore should be selling? Now, if the answer to that question is yes, then all I can assume is that you're getting all of the traffic and all of the leads that you can handle, and increasing your sales productivity at this point is not a concern. And if that's the case, consider yourself very blessed and carry on. If the answer is no, however, then the next question that needs to be asked is why? Why are they not selling all that they could and should be selling? As a developer, you have to do a lot of research in planning a community. You do the research to select the best site for that community. You do the necessary research to select and offer the best floor plans in your community. And you do the necessary research to offer the best price points in your community. And while all of these obviously have a substantial impact on your absorption rate, your success depends largely on what your sales team does or does not do with each and every prospect. Regardless of the size of your community, your success comes from selling one home to one prospect at a time. And therefore, you cannot afford to simply hope that your sales team is doing what they should be doing. Hope is not, and never will be, an effective sales or sales management strategy. Hello, my name is John Ace Underwood, and for almost 30 years, my colleagues and I have been helping salespeople all across the world sell more homes and increase their personal sales productivity. It has been our experience, however, that there are three major stumbling blocks that are keeping developers from experiencing the sales velocity that they could and should be experiencing. First, the absence of a highly proactive off-site marketing strategy. Second, the absence of an effective sales process. And third, the absence of an effective pursuit or follow-up strategy. Let's first talk about the absence of an effective off-site marketing strategy. There are only three ways to attract qualified home buyers. You can wait for them, you can buy them, or you can go out and find them. That's it. These are the only ways that you will get prospects into your model centers and in front of your salespeople. Now, the very largest percentage of developers and their sales organizations execute the first methodology very, very well. The sales organization typically hopes that the builder picked the right site, got the right floor plans, and set the right price points, and then they sit and wait. And they wait some more. The second methodology by which to attract more buyers is to buy them. And by that, I mean you advertise, and you advertise a lot. And advertising is expensive. And as any advertising professional will tell you, only 50% of your advertising really works, and the problem is always trying to figure out which 50%. Third, you can go out and find more buyers. Now, working to get buyers is having an effective and proactive off-site marketing strategy that drives qualified home buyers to your site. When you use an effective off-site marketing strategy to drive qualified home buyers to your community and you funnel them into an efficient and effective sales organization, you will increase your sales momentum. So that covers marketing or getting traffic to your location. Now what? Let's discuss the impact that the absence of a sales process and the absence of ensuing pursuit activities has on your sales results. Let's assume that your marketing initiatives are working and you're experiencing a significant flow of traffic to your community. I'm sure that everyone watching this video would agree that any effective sales process would include the following. Number one, building rapport or connecting with visitors coming to your sales location. Number two, being able to facilitate a compelling tour of the homes and the community and providing the opportunity for a qualified and interested prospect to buy. And third, last but not least, following up with those prospects that have expressed an interest but have not yet made the commitment to buy. I'm also pretty certain that having an inside looking out perspective, the vast majority of you watching this video also believe that most of your salespeople do this on a consistent basis. Now let me share with you my experience. Let me give you my outside looking in perspective. In that the economy is showing some signs of recovery and many developers are hiring more construction personnel and communities are showing signs of life, I decided to facilitate a research project pertaining specifically to the sales effort within some of those communities and developments. Now, I live in South Florida, so finding communities within a reasonable driving distance wasn't all that challenging. My purpose was to basically shop these communities. I wanted to see how effective a sales process these organizations implemented, how compelling their presentations were, and how assertive their sales and their pursuit activities would be. Now, to accomplish this, I had to be a perfect prospect, meaning that I had to have the following. I had to have, number one, a desire to buy in that community. Number two, the resources to buy in that community. And third, the urgency to do so in the not-so-distant future. And I emphasize that because it has been my experience that not meeting even one of those criteria will ensure that you never, ever hear from any salesperson ever again. So here was my story, and remember the story because I will refer back to it. I introduced myself as a senior-level hospital administrator. I work with one of the largest healthcare providers in the country with over 75 hospitals in our network throughout the U.S. I'm relocating to this area for professional reasons. And as part of our executive relocation package, our company actually buys out our existing mortgage so as to free up our funds to buy another home. In other words, this would be a cash transaction. So far, so good, right? I mean, you would agree that I would be a perfect or prime prospect, right? The three most important things to my wife and I were to be community amenities, preferably golf, access to a fitness center, either on-site or off. Security and safety. We prefer a gated, secure community in that we do travel and we do want our home to be secured. Third, we prefer new construction. It allows us to choose a desirable floor plan, personalize our colors, choose our flooring, appliances, etc. And after doing a little bit of research on the internet, we then set out to visit 17 different communities throughout South Florida. These communities varied in size, complexity, amenities, and price points. The one thing that they all seem to share in common is that the developer wanted us to invest in one of their homes and reside in their community. Now, we had a number of different experiences ranging from pleasant conversation to basically being ignored. But let me just give you the results concerning those specific activities or events that we already identified as being the ones that should have taken place. First, how many times do you think we were asked to register or fill out a prospect card of some sorts? 12 times. 12 out of 17 communities asked us to fill in some basic information. How many times do you think we got to tell our story? Remember the story where I worked, what brought me into the area, what was going to be important to my wife and I, how we were going to pay for our home, and how soon we would be needing our new home? 0. That's right. 0% of the time did we get to tell our story out of 17 communities. Now, I tried to share the information in conversation with a few of the salespeople, but very little importance seemed to be placed on that information. Out of 17 communities, how many times were we accompanied by a sales professional? 7. 41% of the times we were accompanied by a salesperson. Now, interestingly enough, there seemed to be a direct relationship between where the models were located and how you get to the models and the number of times we were actually accompanied by someone. If the tour process included a golf cart or a specific transportation vehicle, we were accompanied. But if the models were within walking distance, we never were, not even once. How many times do you think someone actually talked about the many benefits of investing in or living in that community? You know, the reasons that you thought it was a great site for your community, the amenities that were either in or close to your community? 2. So 12% of the time we were given a brief overview of why living in that community is seen to be advantageous to many other people. Unfortunately, it didn't always match what was important to us, but I suppose it was better than nothing, right? How many exit interviews were conducted? How many times do you think we were asked something more than, well, do you have any questions? 0. 0% of the time were we asked as to our opinion, our thoughts, our plans, whatever. How many times do you think a next step was discussed, either making a commitment, schedule a follow-up phone conversation, another meeting, or just some sort of next activity? 0. Once again, not even once. It was always, well, if I can do anything else for you, please don't hesitate to call me, as we were handed a business card and a brochure package. One last observation. How many follow-up emails, calls, letters, etc. do you think we received out of 17 communities? 3. We received 3 emails from 3 communities basically thanking us for our visit. The bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen. Virtually all of your prospective buyers are expected to self-experience the benefits of investing in one of your communities and living in one of your homes. Virtually all of your prospects are forced to make their housing decision absent of any help or assistance from your sales organization, with the exception of writing the contract and executing the post-commitment activities. That is why you're not getting the sales momentum that you could be getting. And until that is corrected, you will always be at the mercy of the market and will have to settle for what that market will give you instead of harvesting the sales that should be rightfully yours. Those that should be rightfully yours as a result of your research, your planning, and your investment. And for those of you that think we visit only your competitive communities and this would never happen in your community, well, that would be the beginning of the illusion. I will tell you that what you think is happening in your communities as it pertains to sales, and what should be happening in your communities as it pertains to sales, isn't happening in your communities. And that's what needs to change if you want to increase your absorption rate. Now, if any of what you have heard or seen thus far on this video, if that resonates with you, please take the next step. Our sole purpose for this video was to initiate a meeting with your organization to discuss what can be done to maximize your absorption rate. Let me leave you with one final thought. The hardest business to measure is the business you lose. Let me repeat that. The hardest business to measure is the business you lose. It's easy to quantify the number of visitors you get and the number of sales that you close, but people don't call you up and tell you why they didn't buy. They don't call you up and let you know if, when, and where you dropped the ball. The only defense you have against unnecessarily losing those sales that you should be getting is to correctly identify what needs to be done and then be 100% committed to doing it right 100% of the time. Listen, you've got nothing to lose, nothing except more sales, that is. Give us the opportunity to show you how we can help you strengthen your control over your sales efforts and ensure that your sales process is effective, as efficient, and productive as it needs to be. I promise you, you'll be glad you did.